What's going on, YouTube? Welcome back to the Thomas Gallery, and today I want to talk about poetry. What is poetry? Now, people say, "Well, Chris, you're a painter. You draw. What do you know about poetry?" Well, I also said I like to write, and one of the things I like to write is poetry. And I have written poetry over the years. I'm not saying it's the best, most Pulitzer Prize worthy winning poetry in the world, but I dabble from time to time. So now. A lot of people say poetry, but what is poetry? What does it mean? So I went researching the poetry. This is like the origin of the word and what it means in a general sense. Okay, now, the word poetry comes from the Greek word, well, I'm trying to, pioi, or poio, poio, P-O-I, well, in English form, P-O-I-E-O. Okay? Now, when I looked at the word it comes from the Greek word meaning I create. That's what the word poetry means. It's a Greek word that means I create. I said, that's interesting. The word means I create. I create what? I create what? That's interesting. Then I looked up the general definition of poetry and what it means in general. So now it means a lot to some people, but in a general sense, the general consensus, the word poetry is a literary work in which special intensity is given to the expression of feelings and ideas by the use of distinctive style and rhythm. So I thought about that. I said, well, what does that really mean? It's a literary work, means literary means you write, literature, write or, and nowadays record, things like that. But literary work in which special intensity, that was interesting. Special intensity, that means a certain emphasis on, it says a special intensity is given to the expression of feeling. I thought about that and said, well, from my perspective, I think they're talking about a certain emphasis, a specific emphasis on an expression. For instance, if you want to express love, which is one of the most common, ideas that people write poetry about, love. How beautiful love is, or how love makes you feel sad, or you hate love, or you want love for everybody, or I love the world and we should all love each other. Love in general. Love for your mother, love for your children, things of that nature. When you write this particular poetry about love, there's always an emphasis on how much you love something. Okay? And you use certain words to express that intense love for something. Like if someone's like, okay, let's just say, for example, today's Thanksgiving, right? Okay, today's Thanksgiving. And there are a lot of people in America, especially, who live for Thanksgiving. Okay? So if you were to ask them, what do you think about Thanksgiving? How do you feel about Thanksgiving? When they begin to speak about their love for Thanksgiving, they use words that really, really drive home the point about their special intensity on this particular given subject. Okay? On their feelings on this particular subject. And they will say it in a certain style. Some people say, man, turkey, ham, bacon. Oh, it's like that. They're putting emphasis and style and how they usually express themselves. They put it in what they say. So if you ask them to write a poem on their love of Thanksgiving, you may see certain words that just really, okay, like this person, you think they're talking about an actual person, not food. They're talking about a person. Like that. I say, well, I've always loved poetry, but like, when did it really start for me? When did poetry start for me? When did I get the poetry bug? And I can remember as far back as my 5th grade year in elementary school. It may have went a little bit further, but when I think it really hit me, when I became aware of how words affect me and how words are used to affect a certain emotion in this form called poetry, I can remember 2 instances in the 5th grade where every morning my 5th grade teacher would have the class stand up, and we would always read. First we'd read, then we would recite 2 poems. The first poem would be "Still I Rise" by Maya Angelou, and "I Dream a World" by Langston Hughes. Those 2 poems I can remember reciting all the time, and so much so that we even had to, when I went to the 6th grade and we had our 6th grade promotional exercise of elementary school graduation, we had to sing, we had to recite "I Dream a World" and "Still I Rise." So that was, as far as I can remember, my first introduction into poetry. And I thought, I said, well, what are some of my favorite poems? And I thought about it. I said, well, one poem that always stuck out of my head that constantly just makes my brain just travel is a poem that I heard by a man named Patrick O'Leary. And when I first heard this poem, it was during a car commercial. I don't know if people remember that, but it was a car commercial where the car was going down this winding road and they were traveling somewhere, and in the time of the commercial, it was a person reciting the poem. And when I heard the poem, I got so in tune with the poem, I forgot about the commercial. So I wanted to find out what the poem was called and who wrote the poem. And I found it. Patrick O'Leary, "Nobody Knows It But Me." And I love it so much, I'm going to read it to y'all, all right? I wrote it down, I'm going to read it to y'all, okay? Here we go. You see me looking down, just I'm reading something, all right? "Nobody Knows It But Me" by Patrick O'Leary. And he even has a blog, so I'll actually post the link in the description so you can find more of his poems, okay? He's still around writing, so yeah. Right, here we go. "There's a place I travel when I want to roam, and nobody knows it but me. The roads don't go there, and the signs stay home, and nobody knows it but me. It's far, far away, and way, way afar. It's over the moon and the sea. And wherever you're going, that's wherever you are, and nobody knows it but me." I love that poem. And the reason why I love it is because even though the commercial showed a car going through a winding road, to me it was deeper than that. The poem, to me, it made me think about how my mind acts when I'm being creative. When I'm thinking about what I want to create, or when I'm in my mode of creation, how my mind just wanders into a different place. And although nobody knows where I am mentally, I know where I am. And I'm somewhere far, far away and way, way far over the moon and the sea, which to me says, in my mind, I'm in a totally different world. I'm in a totally different universe that nobody knows about but me, because I'm the only one in that particular space. And that poem, although it's short, it brings the point home so hard. I was like, you know what? It's simple. It's very, very simple, but it's so, so effective. So, man, I love that poem. So every chance I get, I read that poem, I listen to that poem, I think about that poem when I'm creating, because it fits so well my state of mind when I'm creating. I love it. I love it. So yeah, so do I write? Yes, I write poetry. Not as much as I used to, because I have a lot of poems I've written over the years that I've posted up on Facebook and in my notes. And every once in a while, I may write a little something. I may write a little something, write how I feel. Or what I would do is I would draw an image or paint an image, and I may look at the image and I may ask myself, well, what emotions come out when I look at this image? How am I feeling when I see this image? And then I will write some words to that particular image. Right? I've done that plenty of times. So that's how my brain works. And I love poetry. I really, really do. Some poetry, I think to me, when the poetry is simple yet effective, and it really drives home a point, it for some reason it gets me more. It affects me more. And that particular poem I just read is one of my favorites. It's my top 3 most favorite poems ever. This one, this Patrick O'Leary, Nobody Knows It But Me, is my top 3. I'm tempted to say it's my favorite poem of all time. I'm really tempted to say it's my favorite poem of all time. So yeah, that's all I got for now. I'll be back shortly, and with another video. I will see you all later. You all have a good day, and I will catch you on the flip side. Peace.